How to BJJ? Basic etiquette. So, when you're the new guy at the gym, you're not going to know the etiquette, right? I remember when I learned golf, right? Like, it's like a lot of etiquette in golf, right? It's like, where are these rules? But it's like that with Jiu-Jitsu too, and each school is different. They're going to have their own traditions and customs, but, Ramon and I today are just going to cover some basic etiquette that we think is pretty universal from gym to gym.
And will kind of help get you at least on the right track, and not get yelled at. Like if we're on the golf course, to your example, you do something out there, you're going to get yelled at. I don't know. I haven't found that that's necessarily the case with Jiu-Jitsu. There are a couple things that trigger me if somebody does them. So I'm sure we'll talk about that. But
we'll start with that.
Yeah.
I know on Saturday when Ren's teaching, if somebody comes in and they're new and then they walk off the mat with bare feet, they get yelled at, like literally yelled at.
Yeah.
And that is probably one of the best, pieces of etiquette I think we could throw out there from the beginning. It's just, once you step on the mat, you gotta put your shoes back on. Once you step off the mat, you step back on the mat, take your shoes off, right? So if you got to go to the bathroom and the bathroom's on the other side, of the mat, you got to take your shoes over there with you.
Yep.
Right? Hopefully your gym has a little walk around and you can take your shoes over there. That's what I used to do, is leave mine on that opposite side. But, I've definitely made that mistake.
Yeah. No shoes on the mat. The home gym here.
We're not even bare feet.
Yeah.
Like if you stepped off the mat on bare feet, don't step off. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a hygiene thing. I've had the privilege of having staph infection, and it is horrible. So that's part of the other reason why these floors get bleached, they get swept. Kids come into the gym and they'll get reamed if I see them walking on the mat with shoes, or they've stepped off the mat and they're walking back on the mat with no shoes. it's hygiene. You don't want whatever's off this mat on here and then you're rolling around in it. It's not good. So that kind of leads into maybe some hygiene stuff. Be clean. Don't come to the gym stinky. You don't want to be the stinky guy. Nobody's gonna run and roll with you. So just have fairly decent hygiene. Not asking for much. You don't need to smell like Dove and Bed Bath & Beyond body splash, but don't also smell like
you don't want to wear too much. I mean, with that said, you don't want to wear a bunch of perfume or cologne. Like look, I roll with guys at the cologne and the it's horrible, right? Don't do that. There's no reason for it.
Yep.
But yeah, like he was saying, just come clean, right? Wash your gi every time. When you're done, your gi needs to be washed. Some guys, I've heard stories. They throw the gi in the back of the trunk and then they wear it again. It's like, no, you got to wash your gi.
Basic hygiene that you were taught from your kid really applies because you are close to each other.
Brush your teeth.
Everything. All the basic stuff you were taught as a kid. Just make sure you do it because you're going to know when the other person doesn't.
Cut your nails, right? Your toenails, right? Guys cut their nails all day, but I see toenails, I did a video on this. You guys are probably seen it. Maybe you haven't seen it, but we don't like to cut our toenails. We got to bend down. It sucks, but you got to cut your toenails. What's some other stuff? What about lining up? When you line up, right? So you line up and bow at the beginning of class. Now at our gym, we're kind of informal. We just line up in whatever order. But at some gyms, you line up in the belt order.
Yep.
And so I guess really you got to pay attention to what's going on in your gym.
Yeah, ask those questions. Observe. If you have the luxury of getting in there early, seeing the class before, what they're doing, going in before you're considering joining that gym or your free week trial that most of them will offer, observe what's going on. And don't be afraid to ask. Ask anybody there, hey, what should I be doing? How should I do it? It's pretty obvious when it's your first day or you're new at a gym. So you're not hiding anything by not asking the question. So it's better to ask, what should I be doing? What should I not be doing? Because you don't want to rub somebody the wrong way.
Yeah, just be respectful too. Like we worked with the new guy today, very respectful, asked a lot of questions. You know what I mean?
We're more than happy to help and answer those questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, better to do that than to find yourself getting yelled at the golf course.
yeah, you don't want that. Okay, so we did the lining up thing. What are some other basic etiquette things? So I know at our gym there was a Sean had a list of basic etiquette. He had a paper that you could pick up, and there's a lot of stuff I learned from that. One of the things is don't ask a higher belt to roll, and every school's different because I've heard some people are like, yeah, don't worry about that or whatever. But for me, I like that. I think that is a good, and it's okay. I like that rule. I think there's a reason for it, but I don't know what your thoughts are in asking the higher belts to roll.
Yeah.
Asking them, right? Like instead of they should be asking you is the etiquette.
Yeah, for sure. And again, every gym is different. But I think you could also, I don't know of any higher ranked belt that, if they're approached by a lower ranked belt or anybody, says, hey, would you mind helping me out with this? Would you mind helping me out with what we were trying to do in class today? I had a question, or I was having problems with this. For the most part, 99% of the time, if not more, we're going to be willing to work with you and want to help you out and want to answer your questions and want to work with you. And then, that could easily lead into rolling.
Absolutely. Yes.
And then that kind of leads into the other part. Like, don't be a gym douchebag. This isn't Gold's Gym. It's not 24 Hours Gym. It's not a tough man competition, because I guarantee there's somebody in this gym that will absolutely crush you and squash your ego. So for that reason, be respectful, be helpful. This is not about who's the toughest, who can submit the most. Nobody's getting a medal at the end of class. Don't try to hurt somebody.
Yeah.
It's don't be that guy that we always say. Like, don't be that guy that's just balled up, just trying to kill everybody 24/7, hurting people left and right. Nobody likes that guy.
No.
And that's what that guy is.
He ends up hurting people or himself, right?
Yep.
And I think it's a lack of technique is what happens a lot of time. But we go to jiu-jitsu to learn jiu-jitsu, right? It's meant for a smaller person, really, like, to use leverage, right? Not use muscle. It's built for anybody.
Yeah.
And I think that is the mindset you have to take in, and to be able to get better at jiu-jitsu, you have to be able to lose. You have to be willing to tap. That's how you learn. Like, observe in that moment when you're rolling with that higher belt, that person that's better with you, what's happening. Enjoy that ride, and I think that's what for me, I always wanted to roll with the higher belts because I always learned a lot more. I figured out early on that the guys that are on my same level, like, I'm not really learning, we're just stalemating and it sucks. When I went to the higher belt, it was like, wow, I'm really experiencing jiu-jitsu. I was wrapped up in it. I was getting my butt kicked, but I was really immersed in it. And I think that not being able to ask the higher belts to roll helped me monitor my behavior better. Because I knew if I mauled those guys and I wasn't a good partner, they would never ask me to roll. And so that's my reasoning. I'm wondering if that's the reasoning for that. But
I mean, I've never once had an issue with anybody asking if they want to roll with me. Maybe there's a couple guys, but the reason why I declined it or didn't like it is because they were that guy that I was just talking about. And I'm like, you know what? I trained today so I could train tomorrow. And it's not worth me, risking it. I got nothing to prove. So, So recap, don't be that guy. Be respectful of your mat, of your rolling space. Don't walk off the mat and then walk back on, whether it's with shoes or barefoot. Etiquette, just basic stuff that you've been taught since you were a kid. Wash your face, wash your clothes, don't be smelly, brush your teeth, trim your toenails. That applies big time. Observe what's going on with the gyms, with the class. Ask. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? Nobody should be afraid to help you. If you're in a gym where it is that type of environment, where if you ask for help and you're not really getting it, maybe it's not the right gym.
Go to a different gym.
Go try a different gym. So a good way to kind of weed out, the gym as well is, how do they treat the new guys?
Yeah, no, that's key. And not every gym is created equal. I mean, I could probably name 5 gyms easily nearby where I know the owners and instructors are great, and there's 1 or 2 that I'm like, I don't know. So you may run into a bad one if you're just starting out, but just look for other places. If you're not you don't feel welcome, or you're not getting what you need to get better.
Yep, absolutely.
So
cool. Good job. Thanks.
Thank you.